EASIT, Easy Access for Social Inclusion Training.
This is Unit 3A, Easy to Understand and Subtitling. Element 1, Processes. Video lecture, What are easy to understand subtitles? My name is Rocío Bernabé from the Internationale Hochschule SDH München in Germany. This video lecture introduces the concept of easy-to-understand subtitles and their characteristics. We will also discuss briefly what constraints influence the creation process and what type of guidelines we can use. The focus in this video lecture is on pre-recorded subtitles. At this stage, we assume that you already have basic skills in creating subtitles. If this is not the case, we recommend you to acquire some knowledge before attending the video lecture. For instance, we recommend you to visit Module 1 of the European co-funded project Interlingual Live Subtitling for Access, in short, ILSA. Easy-to-understand subtitles aim to support viewers in the meaning-making process when they are watching an audiovisual product, for instance, a video, a movie, or the news. To do so, easy-to-understand subtitles resort to simplification methods. Easy-to-understand subtitles can be then classified according to different criteria, such as the type of simplification. Easy-to-understand subtitles can use text simplification methods, such as easy-to-read or plain language, but it is also possible to use graphical simplification methods, for instance, easy pictograms. One example of the use of pictograms would be the use of emoticons in a subtitling line for expressing feelings and/or emotions. Of course, you can also have mixed forms. You can have text simplification methods and graphical simplification methods in one subtitle line. Ultimately, the decision concerning the type of simplification will depend on many factors, as in any other translation actually. It will depend on the translation order, that means the preferences of the client, but also on the target audience, the target language, the genre, and the medium of publication. Easy-to-understand subtitles can also be classified according to the target language. For instance, they can be interlingual and use a different language as in the source text, or subtitles can be intralingual and use the same language as in the source text. For instance, easy-to-understand subtitles which have been translated from German into Spanish would be interlingual, while easy-to-understand subtitles that had been translated from standard Spanish into easy-to-understand Spanish would be intralingual. In several countries, intralingual subtitles are also called captions or subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing. This is often abbreviated as SDH subtitles. In this video lecture, I will use the term subtitle to refer to both intralingual and interlingual subtitles. Easy-to-understand subtitles are subjected to different types of constraints. The first type emerged from the audiovisual nature of the product, meaning the limited time and space that we have for a subtitling line. The other types of constraints are or emerge from the simplification methods. What I mean here is that easy-to-understand subtitles have to be compliant with the principles and recommendations of whatever simplification method is being used. Lastly, another constraint that we face in the creation of easy-to-understand subtitles is the lack of empirically based guidelines. This lack of guidelines is translating at the moment into different subtitling practices and the use of different subtitling parameters. The lack of guidelines for easy-to-understand subtitling can be solved by resorting to other type of guidelines. For instance, we could use the guidelines for subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing, especially for those persons with prelocutive hearing loss. Why? Well, because this type of guidelines have shown to be beneficial for other parts of the population. For instance, for persons who have a low level of literacy, the elderly, or persons who have limited command of a language, be it because they are second language learners, or for instance in the case of immigrants upon arrival in a host country. Although we see that the target groups overlap to some extent, we should keep in mind that the primary users of SDH and those of easy-to-understand subtitles, they also have different needs. For instance, easy-to-understand users often do not have a sensory impairment, meaning that they don't have a hearing loss, and therefore they receive the audiovisual content multimodally. That is, they hear and they see the content. We must also keep in mind that easy-to-understand users may not be familiar with the conventions that are used in SDH subtitling. For instance, the use of colors for identifying a speaker, or the addition of contextual information such as laughing when a person is laughing and you can hear it, but you cannot see the person on the screen. Conversely, easy-to-understand audiences, especially easy-to-read users, are used to own conventions such as the use of digits for all numbers, that is, to also use digits for the numbers 1 to 10, which are often spelled out in standard languages. Let's recap at this stage. In this video lecture, we have classified easy-to-understand subtitles by the type of simplification methods and by the type of target language. We have also seen the constraints that we will face during the creation, and we have discussed the extent to which we can use SDH guidelines, as well as the limitation of the use of these guidelines. In the next video lecture, we will talk about easy-to-understand subtitling parameters for creation. This video lecture was prepared by Rocío Bernabé from the Internationale Hochschule SDI München in collaboration with Universidade de Vigo in Spain. You can reach me at rocio.bernabé@sdi-münchen.de.
The project EASIT has received funding from the European Commission under the Erasmus Plus Strategic Partnerships for Higher Education Programme, Grant Agreement 2018-1 ES01 KA203 05275. The European Commission's support for the production of this publication does not constitute an endorsement of the contents, which reflect the views only of the authors, and the Commission cannot be held responsible for any use which may be made of the information contained therein. This work is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Share Alike 4.0 International License. Partners of the EASIT project: Universitat Autónoma de Barcelona, Università degli Studi di Trieste, Universidade de Vigo, Stiftung Universität Hildesheim, SDI München, Dyslexie Verbundet, Radio Televizija Slovenija, Zavod RISA. EASIT, Easy Access for Social Inclusion Training.